Thank you all for joining us on today's Bellator 250 media availability. We are going to switch things up and start with Douglas Lima first today. Again, sorry for any inconvenience, but we're going to start with Douglas Lima. Nick Newell will be up next. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3, test, test. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. We'll be joined by Douglas Lima in just a few minutes. And for all the media joining us virtually today, please remember to click the raise hand button if you have a question. All right, we are now being joined by Douglas Lima. Just a reminder for all the media joining us virtually today, please press the raise hand button if you have a question. We'll take our first question from the line of Steve Jewin. Steve, your line is now live.
Thank you. And Champ, thank you for the time today. It's always good to talk to you. Now, the last person who went up from welterweight to face Gegard Mousasi, well, things didn't work out too well for Rory McDonald. So what did you learn from his fight, and what will you do differently?
Yeah, that didn't go too good for him, of course. But no, I think I'm a different fighter. I'm a little bit bigger than him as well. And I don't know, Rory just wasn't himself that night, so I can't really count on that fight. Of course, Mousasi looked amazing. He did what he had to do. He hurt him early, with those jabs. And I don't know, I think Rory just felt, how the weight, the power of him. But I feel pretty good. I'm a different fighter than him for sure, different styles. And definitely going to be a different story with me. I don't know, I'm feeling good right now, at this middleweight. Do this weight cut tonight and see how I'm feeling fight time. But everything went good. Training camp has been amazing. Feel really strong, feel ready to go, and feel ready to get this belt.
And speaking of your training camp, how has it changed during the pandemic era? What have you had to change?
It just wasn't, as many people as it was before, but we always kept training. My brother was in there in camp, Jucão, a bunch of my training partners. It wasn't a lot of quantity, but it was a lot of quality. We had maybe 4 or 5 guys, in training camp when everything shut down. But we always kept training, Did a lot of strength and conditioning as well, trying to get the strength a little higher for this fight. No complaints, man. Even though, everything was shut down, we kept working, I opened a gym, during this time. So I can't complain about anything. Everything has been good.
Our next question comes from the line of Donna Corby. Donna, go ahead.
Hey, Douglas, how's it going? I wanted to ask about MVP. He's been calling you out ever since you fought him, and you've made some sort of thinly veiled responses. But I want to give you the opportunity to reply to what you've heard from Michael Venom Page over the last year.
Fight contenders. I'm a champion. I'm here to fight contenders. If you want a shot at me, go fight guys that that's gonna put you next in line for a title shot. He's been doing good. He's been winning his fights. I just I need to fight contender. You can't fight people that has less than 5 fights and ask for a title fight. No disrespect to anybody. No disrespect to him as well. But if you want to fight the champion, man, you gotta fight fights that get you there. It's not just talk. You gotta fight contenders. That's what I've been doing my whole career. Every time I lost the belt, I fought the number 1 guy next in line for it. I had to go through a tournament to get my belt the last time around. So you know what you do. If you're ready, Bellator says you're ready. I'm here. I'm here for whoever's next. But like I said, I'm a champion and I fight contenders.
Also, a lot of fighters have found when they have 2 belts, making the weight cut down to the lower weight class where they have the belt is always a little bit more difficult. Do you plan on leaving the welterweight division, or are you going to find it relatively easy to jump between the 2?
No, I'm not leaving the welterweight division. That's my weight class. I think there's a lot more fights for me to do there. But let's see how it feels, Thursday night. Right now everything feels great. But I'm still the same weight, that I am when I fight at 170. I usually walk around at 200 pounds. For middleweight, cut 15 pounds. Welterweight, suffer a little more, but I can make the weight no problem. You know what I mean? So, I want to fight on both divisions. I want to win this belt. My goal is to get this belt Thursday and defend both. Defend both belts, stay busy. Get as many fights as I can. enjoy my prime time. I feel healthy, I feel good, I just want to stay busy as much as I can.
Giancarlo?
Hi, Douglas. You're just talking about there the weight cut, and now fighting at this kind of division at middleweight. Do you think that Gegard Mousasi, a similar guy who's had to cut weight from light heavyweight before, have you seen something in his game that you'll be able to exploit in his last performances?
No, man. Mousasi's he's a complete fighter. He's good everywhere. He's a great striker. He's a good wrestler. He's really good on the ground. So we just got to find the right timing, connect a good punch, and be ready to fight 5 rounds. I know it's going to be a hard fight. He's going to be ready to fight everywhere. Same with me. I've done what I could, with this training camp. I train hard. I pay my dues in the gym, and I'm ready to fight him. I know he's good. He's probably going to be a little bit bigger than myself, but it is what it is. It's challenges, man. The bigger the challenge, the bigger the reward. That's what I'm coming into this fight, thinking about. Because, man, it's he's a gamer. He's been in the sport for a long time. He fought the who's and who, fought heavyweight, light heavyweight. So I know it's a tough challenge, and that's why I wanted, this type of fight, so especially, with the belt on the line, this is huge. This is a super fight, and I'm really looking forward to it.
And final one for me, you've been a who's who in the Bellator welterweight division. Do you think the Bellator division, especially welterweight, gets the respect that it deserves compared to when people talk about the UFC?
I mean, if you understand the sport, you know it does. A bunch of killers, a bunch of up-and-comers, welterweight division is stacked in Bellator. People know that, man. People know that. The top 10, top 7, there's a lot of good guys. And ex-UFC fighters as well, guys that's been on top over there. So everybody knows that we got a deep division and definitely can compete with anybody in the world.
Santiago?
Hi, Douglas. Is your brother going to be in your corner?
For sure. He's always here with me. You know what I mean? He's about to cook my meal, for post weigh-in. He's my main training partner as always. He's here for sure.
I love him. He's the best, man. Hey, your takedown defense against Rory was stunning to see. Really high level. Do you think Gegard wants to take this to the mat?
Definitely. He said it himself. He wants to wrestle me as well. I don't know if it's because he's bigger or he wants to put more weight on top of me, but he said he's going to wrestle me. So I prepare for the wrestling, I prepare for the striking, and pretty much, ready for everything. Because like I said, Mousasi is a complete fighter. He's good everywhere. So I'm sure he's going to try to fight this fight, wherever, on every aspect of fighting. He wants to strike me, wrestle me. He pretty much want to mix everything up. That's what I feel from him. And we're ready for it. We're prepared. Been training for this for like a whole year. So I'll be ready for sure.
Good luck on fight night, sir.
Thanks, buddy.
Damon Martin.
Hey, Douglas, you mentioned after this, you're obviously more than willing to go back to welterweight, but we have seen Bellator allowing guys hold 2 titles and defend 2 titles, but it has been difficult. We saw with Ryan Bader, he went back down to light heavyweight, and he talked about how difficult it was, and obviously he didn't have his best night against Nemkov. Are you confident in being a 2-division champion, or do you look at this as saying, I want to win middleweight, and then focus back on welterweight? Where's your head at after this fight? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely be harder, to make welterweight. But that's something that's been hard my whole career. There are times where I thought, man, I can't do this. I don't know if I'm gonna make weight this time. But I always do it. It's my job. It's part of the job. And I'm walking around the same as I do for welterweight. So I don't think it'll be that much more difficult because I didn't. Maybe I had 3-4 pounds, during training camp, but I didn't get that much bigger. That would be impossible for me to make welterweight again, But I can, give me 8 weeks, I can comfortably make 170 again, make 185 whenever I want to, because, it's a lot easier. But first, I want to see how this feels at middleweight. I can't wait. I'm fighting one of the big guys, at middleweight. A guy that's fought, higher weight classes before. So, this is a perfect fight for me to see, where I stand as far as power, when it comes to middleweight. Because, a guy's definitely going to be bigger and stronger. But I feel good. I feel good about it. Middleweight, something that I thought of doing my whole career. I did it last time was 10 years ago. I won 3 fights at middleweight. I won a tournament, and I'm ready to keep this going. Definitely fight at both weight classes.
And last one, Douglas, we've seen a lot lately. I mean, you've throughout your career, you've had to, I won't say defend yourself, but you've touted yourself as the best welterweight in the sport, even when compared to the UFC guys. And I know it's kind of a pointless argument because you're not in the UFC and the UFC guys aren't coming to Bellator, but becoming a 2-division champion is so rare. It's such a rare thing we've seen in this sport. Do things like pound-for-pound rankings, does that matter to you? Would you like that kind of consideration if everything goes well on Thursday night? Because you've been such a long-reigning welterweight champion. Adding on middleweight, I mean, there's only a handful of guys who've ever done that.
Yeah, definitely. Super important for me, and definitely want my name on the pound-for-pound list, after this win. I've said it. I even said that before, it's a legacy fight, man. It's a super fight, you know what I mean? Being a welterweight forever, I fought the who's and whoever came to Bellator, I fought them. I got wins, against good guys, and definitely think I belong in the pound-for-pound list. But I got to prove it, with this fight Thursday night. It is important for me. Sometimes, rankings doesn't really matter, but it's just good to see. Good to see your name up there because, the work that I've been doing this whole time, I've been fighting for 17 years already, I think, So it's been a while, man. It's been a while, and it's important when people recognize what you're doing. But, I'm not losing sleep over it, you know what I mean? I know where I stand. I know I can beat any welterweight in the world, you know what I mean? Middleweight as well. So, I feel good, man. I feel good. And this win, this fight would definitely put me up there, in the pound-for-pound list. You know what I mean? It's important.
We'll take a couple more here. Ben, go ahead.
Hi, Douglas. You mentioned before about Mousasi's bigger size and how that may have played a factor in the Rory McDonald fight. And I'm just wondering if there's anything other than his size, any specific weapons he has that you think will pose a challenge to you.
Yeah, I mean, everything he does, man. He's a good striker. His jab is good. His right hand is good. His ground and pound is really solid. So, man, I got to be ready for everything. You know what I mean? I got to be on top of my game in this fight. You know what I mean? I got to be ready at all times, at every second. And so does he. You know what I mean? So it's a dangerous fight for both of us. I can finish the fight in any second. He can do as well. He can do the same thing. And I just got to be ready. Just got to make sure I'm on top of my game. And I feel like that, man. I feel good. I had a great training camp. I did everything that I could, and I feel really good about it. I feel really good about this fight. It's a type of fight that I've been wanting for a while, against such a game opponent like him. All my respect, but I can't wait to perform against him, man, on Thursday night. And I feel really good. I got to, like I said, be on top of my game.
Our last question comes from the line of Chris DeSantiago. Go ahead, Chris.
Hi, Douglas. Thanks for the time today.
Of course.
So would you consider Mousasi your biggest opponent today? Do you think he's your biggest challenge, or do you think that lies with somebody like Rory McDonald?
I think every next fight, every fight that I'm about to fight, I think that's my biggest. I definitely look at it like that. But Mousasi is no different. He definitely is because, like I said, he fought the who's and who's. He fought in bigger weight classes before. And, he fought in 3 weight classes above mine. You know what I mean? Just for me to go up, and fight a guy like that, it's important. And, I definitely feel he's the best that I've fought so far. You know what I mean? And I took it serious, man. I took this very serious. I trained really hard. It's a dangerous fight, of course, for me, for him. And there's a lot on the line, man. This middleweight title is super important for me. You know what I mean? It's definitely, it's for legacy. You know what I mean? That's what I want to leave behind, a guy that fights whoever's next in line. You know what I mean? And super important, man. I know he's tough. I know he's been around with the best. But I believe in myself. I believe in my coaches. I believe in my training. And I did everything, man. I did everything, and I'm ready to go Thursday night.
Great. Thank you so much for the time, Douglas. Good luck the rest of the week.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
We'll be joined shortly by Nick Newell. We are now being joined by Nick Newell. Once again, please press the raise hand function if you have a question. We're going to begin with Steve Jewin. Steve, your line is now live.
Thank you. And Nick, thank you for the time today. It's been just over a year since your last fight, and that was a little controversial since it went to a split decision. Obviously, you didn't plan to be off this long, but looking back on that fight, do you feel like there's anything you could have done different?
Yeah, well, I still think that I won that fight, but I've accepted the decision. It was close, so what are you going to do? I went back after that fight, and I took a little time off, and I kind of healed my body. It was my third fight in 4 or 5 months, so I was a little burnt out. I was a little worn out, and I wasn't as motivated as I usually was for a fight. So I kind of switched some things up in my training and the rest. I mean, I own my own gym, so I was moving locations and I was building a gym and then rushing home to like spend time with my kid and then trying to be a professional fighter and do all of this, like 3 fights back to back to back. So I kind of just wore myself into the ground and I found out that I was doing a thing called redlining too much. So I was running myself training too hard, overtraining every day. And it's hard to bounce back from that. So I kind of hired some new people. I brought some new people on board in my camp and I slowed things down. And during the day, I actually rest. At night, sometimes my kids wake me up, I'll be honest, but I'm still well rested. And now I feel great. I'm very confident.
And finally, for me, you obviously have gotten more rest since then and trained better since then, but you were expecting to fight in March. The Zach Zane fight has been on the books for a while. So how has the extended camp worked out for you?
It's good. I trained all through quarantine. So like I said, I own my own gym, so I can basically do whatever I want. So me and another one of my fighters that he just recently had a child. I just had my second, and we both kind of followed. We stayed away from everyone else, and we trained together till things kind of cleared up. So I've been training this whole quarantine, staying sharp and doing this. So while other people were taking time off, getting fat, doing things like that, I wasn't doing any of that. I was preparing. I didn't know it would be for him, but I was preparing for someone, and it just happened to be him again.
Ben Allen.
Hi, Nick. So after ending up on the wrong side of a very close split decision last time, one that you thought that you did enough to win, has those sort of small margins that can influence the way the judges score a fight, has that made you even hungrier to take them out of the equation this time and finish the fight?
I mean, if you look at my record, I usually always finish the fight. I think like 16 wins, I have 13 first-round wins. So if anything, I thought I had like a 10-8 first round last time, but the judges didn't. So I'm just gonna kind of just fight smart and technical and good and not really worry about anything. I'm gonna set my traps and try to finish. And then when other things present themselves, I'm gonna take them. I'm gonna fight like a true professional, calculated, cool, calm, collected. I know Zach's a little spitfire of energy, and he comes forward and he's very aggressive, and I kind of like that. That kind of feeds into my style. So I'm very excited for this.
And like you said before, you've built up a reputation as a bit of a finisher, especially in the grappling department. And your opponent, Zach, he's won 10 of his 14 wins via submission. Do you think it's inevitable this fight's going to hit the floor?
Yeah, I think so. Most fights do. So I think once it hits the ground, you know, I'm very confident that I can stop his takedowns and he can't stop mine. And I've focused a lot. I've had a lot of really high-level wrestlers in on this camp. There wasn't really a lot of places to train this quarantine. A lot of places are closed down, especially colleges and stuff like that. So I took the best wrestlers I could find, and I was like, hey, you guys need a place to train? And I trained with them. So my wrestling is looking really sharp. It's something that I've slept on in the past, because like, oh, I'm a wrestler, I'm good, I'll win this, but like, you got to keep the blade sharp. So I've trained with a lot of really, really good wrestlers this camp, and I'm very confident.
Max?
Hi, Nick. You've been in a roller coaster. You were retired in 2015. You fought in LFA. You entered Contender Series. And now you're here in Bellator. Do you feel like this is your home now?
Yeah, Bellator is the best. I love Bellator. I know that's probably what I'm supposed to say, but I'm just so happy with everything they've done for me and the way they treated me and how they make me feel, that there's really nowhere else I want to fight. I'm with them for the long run till I decide to hang it up for real. I'm Bellator, hopefully, you know. So I really am happy where I am, and everything happens for a reason.
Connor?
Hey, Nick, how you doing?
I'm good.
Obviously, you've been in this game for a while now. You've always bounced back from a loss and have always, kind of risen near the top of whatever promotion you've been in. So at 34, does this feel like the start of maybe one more final run at a major title?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely, I'm a little older than a lot of other lightweights, but that time I took off to heal myself and fix these injuries and do these things was crucial. So I feel like I set myself back 2.5 years by taking 2.5 years off. So really it's more like I'm like 31-ish, maybe just turned 32. So I don't have as many miles on me as I think. Obviously I have a lot of fights and I've been doing this a long time, but I definitely know that I can hang with the best guys in the world. I've done it in practice. I've trained with these guys that are world ranked and champions, and I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think that it was a possibility that I could compete with them.
Thanks, Nick. Jay Anderson?
Hey, Nick, welcome back. I just wanted to follow up on something. You kind of touched on it, really, with taking time off after your last fight and running your own gym. But, with all this time off, one of the factors is if you don't fight, you don't get paid. And that seems like a lot of added pressure as a small business owner as well in the pandemic. What has this experience been like for you?
It sucks that I couldn't operate my business for so long. A lot of my students came through and I had some incentives and some gear packages and private lessons and stuff that people bought. And my students are really like ride or die. I don't teach all the classes, but my staff is amazing and very knowledgeable. And we're back in business now. Obviously, we have some guidelines we have to follow for the everyday people. And we're doing that. And I'm making the best out of the situation for sure. Especially when this all started, my wife just barely found out that she was pregnant. So we had my second son in July, and we've been adapting to that and doing those things. And luckily she wasn't out of employment. She's a speech pathologist, so she's been able to do all her calls on Zoom, and she kind of held us up a little bit along with my loyal students.
That's good to hear.
Also, Bellator paid me for that fight, too.
That's awesome to hear.
They paid me my full purse for that fight, so it's like I got paid, so it kind of actually went a long way to hold me over and support my family. And we got a minivan from it, which is kind of dope.
That's fantastic to hear. Just another one for me. In terms of the teaching, do you feel that being a teacher, that being an instructor in the gym has made you a better fighter?
Yeah, it does make you better. I actually wasn't really teaching this camp at all. One of my other instructors, Roger Denton, really stepped up, and he's been in the game for a very, very long time. And he took over a lot of the classes, very knowledgeable guy, and helped out. And then along with my other coaches, Jeremy Libashevsky and Scott Labrie, over in Springfield, Mass, I kind of was able to make something work between that, and then with everything, conditioning and strength training and all that stuff, I have such a good team.
Our last question here comes from the line of Ben Keeley. Go ahead, Ben.
Hi, Nick. One of my favorite things about going on social media these days is when I see someone who reaches out to you and maybe they have a congenital amputation as well, and they just say how they are inspired by you to achieve all they can and be healed like me and like not be set by limitations. I'm just wondering, is that the best part of the job? And did you ever imagine you could be in such a position to inspire so many people?
I when I was a kid, the internet wasn't around like that, and there was only one person I'd ever seen in my whole life with one hand, and his name was Jim Abbott. And I had the pleasure of meeting him twice when I was a kid, and I remember what kind of impact that had on me as a child, and how it strengthened me and empowered me. So I try to bring that same energy that he brought me to people that meet me that might find the same thing in me. I didn't start off to prove anything or be anything or try to be some inspirational person. I just am a human being first. I'm my own person. I'm Nick Newell before I'm this one-handed guy, before I'm anything other than myself. And it's not who I am. The one-handed fighter is not who I am. It's just a part of who I am, and it's something that I've accepted and something I'm comfortable with. And I always try to make myself available for people that might not be as comfortable with the way they're born or how they feel. So, and I actually got to meet Jim and talk to him multiple times, and we kind of have a lot of the same outlooks on some things in regards to being born with one hand and handling life. So he's definitely still a role model to me after all these years. So if I could do something like that for someone else, that's amazing. And there's a whole crop of other one-handed fighters out there that are on the come up, man. I have this one kid from Brazil that sends me messages every single day. There's a guy in Lion Fight named Jake Peacock, who's an absolute savage. He's one of the best Muay Thai fighters in the world. And he's young. I think he's only like 22. So I might be the first big MMA guy, but I wasn't the first one-handed guy out here doing combat sports. There was Baxter Humby, Jean-Jacques Machado. And after me, there'll be guys like Jake Peacock. And I'm just here being myself and doing my thing. I hope that was a good enough answer. I kind of dragged on a little bit, but it's definitely something that is very interesting to me.
No, that's great. Thanks for the time, Nick. Appreciate it. Good luck the rest of the week. We will be right back with Ty Gwerder. We are now being joined by Ty Gwerder. Once again, remember to click the raise hand button if you have a question. We'll begin here with Jay Anderson. Jay, your line is now live.
Hey, thanks very much. And, Ty, after your last fight, you said you wanted to get back in ASAP and you were kind of willing to work your way up the ladder. It seems you got everything you wished for, a quick turnaround, an undefeated prospect. How happy are you with this matchup?
Oh, man, I'm stoked to be back. I couldn't have asked for a quicker turnaround. I was fortunate that I put on a show and they asked me to come back right away, and I got what I asked for. So, and regardless of how well I performed and how I felt like after the fight, and being that I asked for it, I wasn't about to turn it down.
Good stuff. And, Dalton's obviously a pretty impressive physical specimen, and he's been fighting at 205 until recently. Give us your thoughts on the matchup, and have you done anything special to prepare for this?
No, as far as preparing for this fight, I didn't change anything. I'm a strong believer in, as long as I lead the dance, it's going to be my fight. He's going to have to try to imply his game plan against me. As long as I keep doing what I'm doing, I don't see this fight really going wrong. He is definitely probably the strongest and the most explosive and athletic guy that's been in front of me. But as far as that, I think even him coming down to 85, he definitely shows that weight cut really makes a little bit of a difference, because he gets tired quick, and I think I'll use that to my advantage.
Connor?
Hey, Ty, how you doing?
Good, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for asking. Obviously, Dalton's, he's a big wrestler from those last 3 fights. We saw that, and in your loss to Joseph Creer kind of kept shooting in for that takedown rounds 2 and 3. What improvements have you made in your takedown defense and grappling game since then?
Since the Creer fight, I was at CSA preparing for that fight. So I think the big difference was that is a striking gym, and I didn't have too many big bodies to work with, and everyone likes to strike there. So it did play against me just a little going into that fight, but it was also my fault that I got comfortable striking, thinking that he was just going to strike with me. Now that I'm back at Extreme Couture in Las Vegas, and it's a wrestling-based gym, everyone can wrestle that's my size or bigger. I've been able to work with guys that are constantly shooting on me round to round, and I got a good mixture of guys that are high-level wrestlers that's got collegiate wrestling experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I saw you post on Instagram too. It was kind of like a then and now photo, and you obviously slimmed down a lot too, and it looks like you put on some muscle as well. So, how much do you feel like you've changed since that Creer fight to now?
I think my mindset going into this fight and back then is night and day. That loss it hurt, man. It stung for months, and it I told myself I refuse to ever let myself look that way again, physically, mentally, or even in a fight. I honestly believe I looked completely terrible. I've been in sports my whole life, and I've never performed that bad. And it maybe wasn't that bad to some people that watched the fight, but to me, I felt like I was a disgrace to myself. And going into this fight now, I pushed myself as much as I possibly could, and I just refuse to go back to that.
Steve?
I thank you for the time today. I know you said that the cut is a hard one for Dalton Rosta to make, but it's hard to see the evidence of that because he's got 3 TKO finishes in 3 Bellator fights. So how do you plan to draw him out into the deep water?
Honestly, I'm not even looking to take him out into deep waters. I want to beat him when he's really good. To me, I want to beat guys when they're at the peak of their performance and not when they're starting to drown in that 15 minutes, I think that's where you can show how good of a fighter you are. And he has a lot of muscle. The dude's probably more muscular than I am. And obviously he's fought at 205. So now him being able to cut down to 85 and still carry all that muscle, that plays a big role. Part of the reason why I don't put on as much muscle as I could is because I want to still be the fast guy in this division. I want people to play to my tempo and my pace. And a lot of guys that I train with have a hard time with it. And it's going to start to show eventually.
Thank you.
Donna?
Hi, Ty. How's it going? You've obviously fought in this in the Bellator bubble in Connecticut for the fight, your last one. Do you think that it benefits or hurts your preparations, the whole quarantining and being in your room and not being able to interact with everybody? Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
For me, I think it's a good thing. I don't really do much fight week. Like I have that football mindset when 2 days or the day before the game, I stay off my feet for a day or two and I don't do anything. So as far as quarantining, like it works in my favor. I get to rest my body and recover as much as I can in these couple of days leading up to the fight. Just because even then, I like to get my last hard day literally exactly 7 days from the fight. So I can use as much recovery as I possibly could leading up. And there's no way that 7 days is gonna make a big impact on my performance come fight night.
Where does a win on Thursday night land you in the division?
Well, being that I started with Bellator on a loss, that put me at 0-1. I'm 1-1 now. Putting me at 2-1, I think that gives me just a little pull enough to where I can start making some noise. I'm not expecting a lot after this fight. A 2-1 record. If I win this fight, I become 2-1. I still feel like I've earned my stripes. But if I can put on another show and show that I can make it exciting, I think going forward, I can start really asking for fights when I want it, and we'll see.
We have time for one or two more. Luis, go ahead.
Hi. How do you see Bellator middleweight division, and where do you feel in the division winning this fight?
Winning this fight, being that I think they said something about Dalton being the number 10 ranked middleweight, and he's 3-0. I think beating him, that puts me right around there. And moving forward, there is a lot of guys that's been here for a while. So moving forward, I think we'll see me fighting guys with a higher record and, that's been here making some noise.
Lenny?
Hi, Ty. Just the one from me. How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. So you've got 6 fights in your pro MMA career, but all your wins, they're all by KO. Does that continue this weekend?
I hope so. If I do get a decision win, I'm going to be very upset. I don't want to be in there for 15 minutes, not because I don't trust my cardio, it's because I want to be a show fighter. I want to show guys that I'm going to fight at my impose my will on people and beat them quickly.
Thanks, Ty. Good luck this week.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
We'll be right back with Desiree Yanez. Once again, a reminder for everyone joining us virtually today, please press the raise hand button if you have a question. Desiree is up next. All right, we are now being joined by Desiree Yanez. We'll begin with a few questions from the media here. We'll start with Steve Jewin. Steve, your line is now live.
Desiree, thank you for the time today.
Thank you.
Your last fight with Melissa, you had a very hyped up fight going into that Combate Americas pay-per-view. How frustrated were you that it ended up being a split decision?
I was very frustrated, but at the end of the day, that's my fault, right? I shouldn't have ever left it to the judges. And it's kind of, lesson learned. If it's going to be a close fight, you need to either go out there and give it all you got to finish it, or you need to make it an absolute, for sure win all 3 rounds. Judges can't say the other person did it. So my fault, completely my fault. I know it's controversial. Everyone says I won, or some people say I lost. But at the end of the day, yes, I was mad and very frustrated and kind of stormed off the stage after she got her hand raised. But I should have just, been prideful and honored that I even got that opportunity, and my fault. I shouldn't have left it to the judges. Never will happen again.
So are you looking to make a statement then in your Bellator debut and prove something?
Absolutely. I know Vita's very tough. She's been doing this longer than I have. She's been with Bellator forever. She's very, very hard. She's been hit with the hammer. You know what I mean? She's a hard opponent. And but I've been training all year. I've had 3 fights cancel on me this year. So I'm just ready. I've been ready since March when my rematch was supposed to happen. So I've learned a lot. I think I'm a completely different fighter than I was last year when I, lost to Melissa. So I'm just kind of excited to see where I am. And I know everyone thinks it's going to be a banger, which it is going to probably be a banger, but I just want to be more technical than I ever have been in any other fight. So I'm just excited to see where my skill is for this one.
Connor?
Hey, Desiree, how are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks for asking. And, coming off that Combate fight as well, how much does this kind of feel like a fresh start, considering it is a new weight class for you and also your Bellator debut?
Oh, it's people ask me all the time about the Melissa fight, and I'm like, that was old news. I'm here doing bigger and better things, new weight class, with one of the biggest promotions in the world. What more could I ask for? That loss sucked, but here I am. It's new chapter, and I'm so ready for it.
Yeah. How tough was that cut to 115? Is that what ultimately kind of led to the change?
Yeah, man, I don't even feel like I'm about to cut weight. Besides all the media and being here quarantined, it kind of just doesn't even feel like I'm about to even really fight. It's almost I get to just go have fun now, and I haven't had to worry about my weight at all. It's been just top notch this whole camp. I'm never going back to 115. I don't even know how I made it. Looking back at it, I'm like, gosh, I really was cutting into my strength and cutting into my energy. I was moving around with my coach yesterday, and he even said you just feel different, physically. And I'm like, yeah, I feel different. And it helps mentally knowing that you just have more energy and strength going into the fight, not having to cut into muscle and energy like that, So definitely very exciting.
Donna?
Hey, Desiree, you mentioned there that a couple of fights have been called off because of the coronavirus pandemic. Did you have any apprehensions about going in and fighting during the current state of the world?
I was obviously supposed to fight for Combate again. The rematch was supposed to happen with Melissa, and it once the pandemic happened, that was immediately canceled. And then Combate was doing their best they could to try to get me going again, but things just kept happening. COVID, tests were positive up the roof in a bunch of different states, and I guess they just made it a better decision to not go on with the fights. So it was very frustrating. Honestly, I didn't even think that I was going to be able to fight this year, and my coaches pulled through, my managers pulled through, and here I am with Bellator now. I was expecting to get with Bellator eventually, but I didn't think it was going to be this soon, so I'm just super honored to be here.
How have you found life in the bubble so far?
It was kind of crazy being quarantined like that. I was actually kind of going crazy. I was talking to myself and laughing at myself. But that's the fun of it, right? You got to just kind of have fun with yourself. And if you can't be alone and have fun with you, then that's not good. So I was just enjoying it a little bit. Usually I'm always around my cornermen and, things like that. And it's always fight talk or this and that. And it was kind of nice just being there quiet, watching shows and just being goofy with me. So it was kind of nice. Surprisingly.
Ben?
Hi, Desiree. Your win against Paulina Vargas has just over 1.7 million views on YouTube. How does it feel to have like that much of an audience watching you win?
Very crazy. I really didn't even know until someone had like asked me about that fight, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's on YouTube." And I was like, "I kind of want to go watch it." And I looked, and I was like, "Whoa, there's over 1 million views!" Like, why? I'm like, it's crazy. I didn't, I know her ankle broke, and she was so sweet. She was literally like one of my favorite opponents I've ever fought, and we had like an English like language barrier. I couldn't speak to her. She couldn't speak to me, but it was like so much love, and I'm like, I'm so sorry I broke your ankle, like just that kind of thing. But she was tough, man. That was a tough fight, and I think we definitely put on a show. I think that's why I got the opportunity to fight for the belt, just because it was exciting. I didn't think Combate thought I was going to come out there like that with her, because she's a very good boxer. She comes from, a very big gym in Mexico. So I'm just honored that I even got that many views, and I think a lot has to do with me breaking her ankle, but but it's still really exciting that I'm on YouTube like that. That's really crazy to me.
And it's you're in a new promotion now, new weight class. What are your plans? Do you have any long-term goals, or is there any names on the roster that tickle your fancy right now?
Honestly, I think every fighter's goal is to get to the gold, right? I want that belt just like anybody. I know I need to work my way up to it, and that's exactly what I hope and plan to do. I'm just going to give everything I got on Thursday and then just see where that takes me from there. But I'm here to stay. I hope Bellator doesn't get rid of me. I know I'm an exciting fighter, and win or lose on Thursday, I'm going to put on a show regardless. I'm going to go out there and do whatever I need to do to get my hand raised. And if it doesn't happen that way, then, I know it's a fight and things don't always go your way, but it's going to be a hard win for Veta either way. So I'm just excited to go out there and put on a show regardless. I think me and her are going to probably be like fight of the night, like one of the fight of the nights. Like, it's going to be exciting. And we're chicks, right? We're so competitive. Like, chicks are so mean, you know what I mean? So it's just going to be fun. It's going to be a fun fight.
Two-door?
Hi, Desiree. What were you doing when you received the news that you are going to debut in Bellator?
I cried like a baby. I cried a lot. I wasn't expecting it. Like I said, I didn't really think that I was going to be able to even fight this year. I had so many fights like fall out on me and cancel and all that stuff. And it was just very frustrating. And I don't know. I just kind of let my emotions get the best of me and was mad a little bit about not being able to fight. And then, like I said, my managers pulled through and got me with this amazing promotion that honestly, this is where I wanted to end up at the end of my career anyways. So just the fact that I'm here so early in my career is just I cried a lot, and I'm just so happy to be here. It's just really, really honoring.
Your next opponent is a Bellator veteran. What do you expect from her?
Oh, I expect a lot from her. I know she's tough. Like I said, she's been hit with a hammer and she doesn't fall down easily. So I know that, it's going to take a lot to get that win. But we have a plan, you know what I mean? And we just need to be better than her. We need to be one step ahead of her. But we can't really fall in her game, you know what I mean? She likes to brawl. I like to brawl too, but I need to start being more technical. Brawling doesn't always get you those wins, and I want to be able to spell my name when I'm 50, so I don't really want to get hit 1,000 times in the face like that anymore. So I do want to put on a show though, so I'm still going to make it very interesting, but I just need to be one step ahead of her. And but I respect her skill so much. Actually, when I found out I was fighting her, I cried even more because I was just so like, wow, like they really think that I can, like, you know what I mean? They think I'm ready for this, and I am ready for it. So it's a blessing, man. I'm just so happy to be here, so happy to fight and share the cage with someone like Veta. I have nothing but respect for her, but on Thursday night, we're going at it.
We'll take a few more here. Ben?
Hey, Desiree. Welcome to Bellator.
Thank you.
So you said earlier that you've sort of been imagining that you'd eventually end up with Bellator somewhere down the line. What is it about the promotion that appeals to you so much as opposed to some of the others on the market?
I don't know. I've just been, I obviously watch a lot of promotions, a lot of fights and stuff, and I just kind of see how Bellator fighters, talk about this promotion. We get to have sponsors, and we get, if you keep winning and get your name up there, you can get some pretty big sponsors to pay you regularly. And at the end of the day, it's about money, right? But also, like, for me, it's about like being comfortable. And already just being here for like a few days, like I can tell that Bellator is just very close, like knit family. That not like, I don't know, you can tell they don't favor anybody. They can just they're just so helpful. And I kind of knew that about them. Like I have a few friends who fight for Bellator, so just kind of, I don't know, just kind of wanted to go that way. Just for me, I think, you know, I can be marketable for a lot of like sponsors, a lot of businesses. So I didn't really want to get rid of the whole not having, you know, I didn't want to not have sponsors. I have a lot of people who've supported me my whole career, and I just can't imagine like not having their logo, you know what I mean, on me and supporting them like they support me. So I just wanted to be somewhere where I could still get the sponsors and still get the love, the good energy and all that stuff. And I knew Bellator was the right way to go.
And just one more from me. Of course, you're going to be stepping up a weight class and making your debut against one of the more established flyweights in Bellator in Veta, a former title challenger. Do you think that strong performance and a big win could catapult you right into the title picture?
I mean, I hope so, right? But I know there's been a lot of other flyweights here with Bellator who've been working their tail off to get to that belt as well. So I'm not here to step on toes. I'm not here to like, you know, I'm not that kind of fighter. I'm really not. I don't talk crap. I don't do that. But I do believe in myself and I have confidence, and I know that eventually that I can get there. I've gotten there before. I've gotten that title opportunity before in a different promotion. I know I can do that here too. I just got to work my way up to there. But I know beating Veta on Thursday would open up a lot of doors for me for sure. Whether that's for sponsors, whether that's just, I mean, anything. Opportunities are endless. That's why beating her on Thursday night is so important to me. But anything can happen. But I definitely am ready for anything for sure.
Luis Morales.
Hi, I'm Luis from MMA Pit. We talked with you before your scheduled second fight with Melissa Martinez. Now we see you in Bellator. Do you still want to fight with Melissa?
I'm sorry?
He's asking if you still want the fight with Melissa.
Do you still want to fight with Melissa?
Old news. You know, I did. Trust me, I really did. When the fight got canceled in March, I was devastated. I was so devastated. I think I was 2 weeks out of the fight when they called me and told me it was canceled. I had already had like my medicals in. I was already getting ready to like weight cut because at that time I had a lot of weight to like lose. So I was just ready. I never felt so prepared for a fight at that time. And I was ready. I wanted that win. I wanted that belt. I thought it was mine. I thought I deserved it. So yeah, at the time I was devastated, very devastated. But now, I mean, first of all, I'm never going back to 115 again after feeling the way I feel now and what I felt then. But now I'm on a bigger and better. Now the ultimate goal is that Bellator belt for sure.
Our final question comes from the line of Steve Julian. Go ahead, Steve.
Just one more from me, Des. I know you talked about being able to have sponsors in Bellator, and you've got a lot of awesome ink tattooed on you. So who does your tats, and have they offered to sponsor you?
No, you know what? I have not had one. Okay, I actually had Urban Tattoos out of Dallas, or Arlington, sorry. Urban Tattoo out of Arlington. They sponsored me one fight, but no others. Like, you know, I kind of want like a tattoo shop. If anybody's watching, I want a tattoo shop to just like sponsor me regularly, whether that's like free ink or whatever. I am such a like connoisseur on like promoting art. Like I want like all this stuff on my body is usually like the artist idea. I don't go in there and be like, I want this exactly. I want this exactly. I'll be like, I kind of want this. Do whatever you want, however you want to do it. So I promote art so much. Obviously, I'm like a canvas for it. So if anybody's watching, I would love a tattoo sponsor to sponsor me regularly. I got you if you got me.
All right. Thank you so much for the time, Desiree. Good luck this week.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, we are now being joined by Henry Corrales. Once again, please remember to click the raise hand function if you have a question. We'll begin here with Donna Corby. Donna, your line is now live.
Henry, how's it going? Obviously, the fight comes on the back of not the best run of your career right now, but you look at the two last fights, they're both Bellator champions, Darian Caldwell previously and as well, Juan Archuleta. Tell me how you're feeling coming into fighting Brandon Girtz. Do you feel like that's the right level of opposition for you to get back in the win column?
Yeah, I feel great, man, and it's a matchup I'm looking forward to. Being that he's a real fighter, and he brings it. You know, the last guy fought, that wasn't the case. You know, he ran, I chased, and that was that.
You don't sound like you're the biggest fan of Archuleta. Are you a bit disappointed to see him be the champion now?
No, I'm happy for him in that sense. You know, the different weight class, but yeah, I just don't like the way he carried himself after our fight. He got on the ring and celebrated like he won a fight when there was no winner in that fight. You know, he ran like a little girl, and I chased him. I dropped him. I landed the bigger shots. I controlled 100% of the ring, and yeah, there's nothing to fucking celebrate on his behalf. And then he got on the crowd and he got on the fence, and the crowd booed, justifiably so. And he flipped off the crowd, and you know, my mother was in the crowd and some friends, and that didn't really sit well with me.
Last one for me, just about the bubble in Bellator. How are you finding life in the new world of fighting?
It's all good for me, dude. I've been in jail a time or two back in the day, so a day in a room with fucking room service and shit, I was like it's all good. So,
Jay Anderson.
Henry, welcome back. I mean, you get the feeling that in this one, there's not going to be any chasing. We know what you bring to the table. We know what Brandon brings to the table. You a little more excited with that in mind?
Yes. Yeah. That's, you know, this is why I started fighting, to fight guys like this, you know, to fight. You know, I just want to fight somebody. So.
Were you a little surprised to hear that he was dropping the featherweight? Because he's made his bread and butter at lightweight over the years in Bellator, and he's even fought up a couple of times.
No, it's not something that crossed my mind.
And I mean, last one for me. Is there any kind of extra motivation to make a statement saying, "Nah, you're not going to come down here and use me as a stepping stone"?
No, not so much. But the fact that he called me out personally, you know, that's something I think about.
Steve Jewin.
Henry, we've been talking for a lot of years now, going all the way back to your fight with Daniel Strauss at Bellator 138. What does it mean to you to be such a longtime veteran and to be fighting a fellow longtime Bellator veteran?
Yeah, it means a lot to me. You know, it's just working so hard for so many years and still at it. You know, been having a good time.
And what do you think a win over him does, since you're both such veterans? Where does it rank you in the division right now?
I'm not exactly sure. I haven't really thought about it.
Fair enough. Have a good fight on Thursday.
Thanks, man.
Connor, go ahead.
Hey, Henry, how you doing?
Yo.
You know, obviously it's been talked about Girtz is kind of making that drop to 145, but how much different do you think his strength and power will be coming from that 155 division?
Yeah, it could go two ways. You know, you could carry it down with him, or he could not. So it's not something that I really need to think about. I'm ready for power or no power. Let's get it.
Yeah. In that same regard, do you feel like you have a speed advantage?
Possibly. We'll see.
All right. Thanks, Henry.
Max, your line is now live.
Hi, Henry. You come off a loss to Archuleta, and that gave him a title shot. Does this kind of motivate you that you're in that title contender fight level?
I'm sorry, I didn't completely understand your question.
Would you mind repeating?
It kind of cut out.
That you come off a loss from Archuleta that gave him a title shot. Does this kind of motivate you that you are in that title contender fight level?
No.
And we'll take our last question here from Rick Sanchez. Rick, your line is now live.
How are you?
What's up, Rick? Good, man.
Going to this fight, how does this past fight with Juan Archuleta make this so personal for you? Does it make you feel like you still got a monkey on your back, or you still want the rematch going on?
Yeah, there is a little monkey on my back because I take pride in being a fighter and being an action fighter. So that wasn't the case with my last fight. So we're looking to get that one back.
Great. Thank you so much for the time, Henry, and good luck the rest of the week.
Easy.
All right, we are now being joined by Veta Arteaga. Veta, can you tell us what it's been like, first of all, being here in the fight bubble during COVID?
It's been nice. I've actually had some downtime to get some full rest. I'm just taking advantage of having to be in my room for a couple of days of just resting, stretching, reading, just relaxing. So it hasn't been too bad. I've been making the best of it.
And you're back in the main card. It's going to be live on CBS Sports Network this time. Tell us what that means to you as well.
Oh, that means a lot to me. I'm honored to be on the main card. Seeing all the fights, when I saw the fight card, there's like 10 fights, and we made it to the main card. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And we're the only girl fight too. So I'm really excited and honored to be on the main card and to be fighting on CBS Sports. That's awesome.
All right, we'll open this up to our media. Steve Jewin, go ahead.
Veta, thanks for the time. 2 questions from me. You used the word honored, and Des said the same thing when she talked about this fight. She said she was honored to be fighting you and to be fighting in Bellator. So what would a win over Dirty Des mean for you?
Oh, it means a lot to me. I'm coming off of a loss, so I'm definitely hungry and driven and excited for this fight. I definitely worked hard. Like, I've had the best camp yet. I've improved in so many different areas. So I know what I got to do on October 29th to get my hand raised. So I'm really looking forward to Thursday.
And that was my other question, actually, was coming off a loss and coming off a couple of tough fights in general. Alondra and Veta, you fought Lima as well for the title. So you've had 2 really tough fights. So how do you reset from that?
Oh, I just picked up the pieces. I'm like, well, what could I have done better? What did I do good? And then I was like, okay, I did certain things good. I was doing really well, but what could I have done better? And so I definitely have improved since my last 2 fights, because you're right, they're really tough opponents. I'm prepared for everything. I've worked hard in every area as far as on my weaknesses and on my strengths. So you'll definitely see a lot of different, same style, same aggression. I'd be lying to you if I said I'm not going to come out there being aggressive, but also being patient on picking my shots, not rushing, not getting overjealous on certain things.
Hi.
Hello.
You are in a very, very deep, flyweight division. How do you feel in this Bellator flyweight division, and where do you feel in the division winning this fight?
Oh, it means a lot to me. I am more than ready for this fight. I know what I'm capable of. I know I'm a tough fighter, a confident fighter, and a skilled fighter. So that right there, I know my own ability. So I just got to go out there and do it. And getting a win on Thursday night is going to it's going to feel great. It's going to feel amazing.
Donna?
Hey, Veta, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad. Obviously, you're coming off the back of not the best run. Do you feel like this fight is make or break for you in Bellator?
No, not at all. Not at all. I feel like it only comes up from here. I've in the past, for the previous question before this, I was just saying that I feel like I picked up the pieces. This is where I'm supposed to be. This is where I belong, and I deserve to be at the top with all the other girls in this division. So I don't feel like it's a make or break. I know I deserve to be here.
Okay, and do you feel that you're in the best flyweight division in the world?
Yes, I do. I feel like we have a lot of good flyweight female fighters.
We'll take a few more questions here. Santiago, go ahead.
Hi, Veta. Greetings from Amsterdam. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, I couldn't do any better. Thank you for asking. So I have one short question for you. You had a pretty impressive win over Denise Kielholtz. And Denise has since gone 4-0. She openly talked to me. I spoke to her a couple of weeks ago. She openly talked to me wanting that rematch somewhere down the line. Would you be down for that as well?
Whatever Bellator wants. I one fight at a time. I focus on this fight. I get this win. And if Bellator wants me to have a rematch, whatever's going to get me to the top and get me to another title shot is what I want.
Good luck on fight night.
Thank you.
All right, our last question comes from the line of Giancarlo Alino. Go ahead, Giancarlo.
Hi, Veta. You're talking about picking up the pieces in your last couple of fights. Who are some of the people maybe that you've worked with closely and rebounding from this and try to get the best out of your next performance?
So we have amazing coaches at SBG Idaho, and I always am coachable with everybody, but this time I actually wanted to utilize all of my coaches. So Veta Arteaga is one of my main coaches, and Justine Brock is one of my main coaches. But I also was working with Coach Daniel after my last fight, and he's a boxing coach of just switching it up of body shots, uppercuts, just other little things. And Matt May, he's also one of our coaches there of more of my tie clinching, my elbows. So I definitely added more coaches into this camp that would benefit me.
All right. Thank you so much for the time, Veta. Good luck the rest of the week.
Thank you.
All right, we are now being joined by Gegard Mousasi. Begin with a few questions from our media. Steve Jewin, your line is now live.
Gegard, as always, thank you for the time. You've got a very important fight coming up here on Thursday for the vacant middleweight title. Are you at all disappointed that you didn't get to rematch Rafael Lovato before the title was vacated?
Well, it's just a little bit. I felt like I could have won that fight, if so I wanted to prove that, but I've lost before. I moved on. I don't have sleepless nights over it.
Very good. And when you get a lot of the media talking about you with such glowing superlatives like best pound for pound fighter of all time, most underrated fighter of all time, how do you keep that from going to your head going into a big fight?
I don't even think of myself like that. So I just focus on finishing strong the career with wins. And I think Douglas Lima is in his prime, so beating him is going to definitely get me in talk because everyone sees him as one of the best welterweights. So I think if I have a dominant performance, that's going to get my name a little bit up. But I'm not even ranked in Sherdog in the top 10, so I don't know. It's an opinion of people.
Giancarlo?
Hi, Gegard. Last time the welterweight champion moved up, Roy McDonald took you on. Now Douglas Lima, what he's been able to do at welterweight. What are your thoughts on what you see from him, and how do you see this playing out on Thursday?
Well, he's a little bit bigger. His stand-up is a little bit better. He has a whole year to grow in his frame. He's been dominant. He's been champion, and he avenged his 2 losses. I think his confidence is very high. And him seeing me as a not big middleweight, he feels like he can get the job done. So overall, I think his mental is the most dangerous about him. And of course, his low kicks and his punches are. But I'm all prepared. I have no. A little bit worried, but that's good. Keeps me sharp.
And final one for me, you've been a guy who's fought at multiple weight divisions in your career. Now that you see what happened in the light heavyweight division, Vadim Nemkov holding the title, does that interest you in the future moving up to challenge him?
Yeah, I think after this is John Salter first, and then I'm all open for it. For me, I don't have the desire to be double champ. It's not like it's a goal of mine, but it's an accomplishment that would be nice to finish. But to be honest, I'd rather have it a little bit later, after 2-3 more fights in middleweight. But we'll see how the promotion thinks of it. I'm open to it.
Santiago?
Hi Gegard, Santiago hier.
Hey Santiago, alles goed.
Alles goed. Hi Gegard, did you get a new main sponsor in Ape Man Strong?
Yeah, they sponsored me for this fight. They sent a lot of gears, so I appreciate it.
2 weeks ago, Scott Coker said that he really wants to visit Amsterdam in the near future. How special would that be for you?
Yeah, very special. I think that's one of the things that I wanted to do because I never fought in Holland, at least in the beginning of my career when no one knew me and not so much. So at this stage of my career to fight there for my own crowd, that's one of the things I wanted to do. So that would be one of my goals, to be honest. Yeah.
Veel succes op Fight Night, Gegard.
Dankjewel, vriend.
Donna Corby, your line is now live.
Hi, Gegard. You fought in both divisions at this point.
Yeah.
Do you feel that you are in the best middleweight division in the world between Bellator and the UFC?
I think I've showed that I can beat anybody when I show up. And for me, I don't even go there because fighting is not realistic. I'm not going to fight anytime in the UFC. So I don't compare myself to the UFC champion. But I take whoever they give me in Bellator. So I think Douglas Lima is a good name, and that's what I'm concentrated on.
Of course, a legend of your division, Anderson Silva, is going to hang up the gloves this weekend. I wanted to get your thoughts on seeing a legend, like I said, of that division retiring.
Well, yeah, he had a great career. I think in his prime, he looked unbeatable. He provided a lot of memorable fights, and is definitely a legend of the sport. Maybe continued a little bit longer than he should have. Tarnished his legacy just at the end, but in his prime, and that's what people are going to remember him as. So definitely one of the greatest.
Jay, go ahead.
Hey, thanks very much. And Gegard, you mentioned Anderson, and I was actually going to bring that up, but you also mentioned, him maybe hanging around too long. Is that something that you worry about at all, especially when you talk about maybe a few more fights at middleweight and then light heavyweight? How much does that weigh on you?
Well, at this moment, I feel great. To be honest, in training, I was better than ever. I'm stronger physically, mentally. So at this moment, when the results come, and if I keep win, lose, that's a sign that you're not what you think you are, But I think I've lost one in the last 10 fights, 11 fights, I don't know. I bounced back. After this year, 2 more years, that's going to be certain. And then after that, I have to look at the body, I have to look at the results. And then we're going to decide if we continue maybe another year. But I'm not going to continue to 40. That's one thing for sure.
We have time for 1 or 2 more. Ben, go ahead.
Hey, Gegard. So you mentioned you've got 2 more definite years left, and you mentioned one thing earlier that you'd like to do is fight back in Holland. Is there anything else that you'd like to achieve during that time?
Maybe now they're working with Showtime and CBS, so maybe a boxing fight, but I don't know how realistic that is. I think if I want to do that, I have to have great performances in the next couple fights, and maybe just for fun to do that, because I always grew up with boxing, and that was my dream, to be a boxing champion. So maybe a fun fight, I'm open to that.
And just one more. So you're going to be stepping in there with Lima, who was obviously, when you came to the promotion, was considered one of Bellator's biggest and toughest names. But you fought the best of the best throughout your whole career. Where does Lima stack up amongst the toughest opponents you're going to step in there with, or have stepped in there with?
Definitely one of the toughest, because also he's in his prime. So I'm facing Douglas Lima in his prime. And I think one of the toughest. But as fight experience, sometimes you face the tough opponent, you can finish him in 2 rounds, 1 round. Sometimes an unknown name fighter give you the hardest fight. So I don't know. We'll see what kind of challenge he will bring, but definitely a very, very gamed and tough opponent to face.
Our final question comes from the line of Lenny March. Go ahead, Lenny.
How's it going, Gegard? How are you?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, as someone mentioned earlier, that Anderson Silva will be hanging out this weekend. He's a UFC legend, MMA legend in the middleweight division, the same division that you fight in now. Is a fight between you and Anderson Silva, would you have liked to happen that in the past, maybe getting the Anderson Silva on your resume also?
Yeah, especially when I was in UFC, we were looking for that fight. So because a win over Anderson is, it goes in the history books. So, but unfortunately, it never happened. And but I don't have any regrets not fighting him. I never thought of that like that. Let's say.
All right. Thanks, Gegard. Good luck this week.
Thank you, guys. Wow. All right.
All right, we are now being joined by Brandon Girtz. Reminder, if you have a question, please click the raise hand function. We'll begin now with Jay Anderson. Jay, your line is now live.
Hey, Brandon. Welcome back. First of all, I just want to ask you about the transition down to featherweight here. How are you feeling now that we're in fight week and we're closer to it?
I feel great. You know, it's I'm no stranger to cutting weight. You know, I wrestled for years, and that's what I did. It's kind of why I never did in fighting. But it's a process I'm used to, man. It's a sacrifice and dedication. It's the exact edge I've wanted and I've been missing for a little bit. You know, I got to be on point on everything right now, and it's good. It gives me a little edge.
And for our first opponent here, Henry Corrales, we know what both of you guys bring, and I asked him about it. He says he's excited. He did know that you called him out. What are your thoughts on the matchup?
I'm gonna love it. That's it's actually the fight I asked for. When we first knew we were gonna go down to 45, we looked at the roster. I said, who's one of the toughest, grittiest guys at 45, and this was the guy that they came up with. And this is the fight I want. I want to go in there. I want someone to come forward. I want someone that wants to take my head off just as bad as I want to take his off.
Love it. Looking forward to it.
Steve Jewin.
Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate the time today. I got 2 questions for you. First, we talked right before the Miles Jury fight in February, and obviously in the last 8 months, the world's turned upside down. So how has that affected you physically and mentally as a fighter?
You know, it hasn't been so bad for me. I'm kind of a homebody. I'm an outdoor person, and physically, mentally, physically it changed a little bit because I wasn't going to the gym, aka what kind of started me down at this trip to 45, you know, not putting the weights up anymore. And I got a little smaller, and so physically it did that, but mentally it's been a little bit of awakening in things. You know, it gave me time to focus more on my mentality and everything. And I've taken it and I've used it as an advantage, really. Kind of, like I said, got that mental growth throughout the time and just kind of evaluated myself. And here we are, man. I'm more excited than ever to be here, and I feel great.
Awesome. And I know you're feeling great going into this fight, and you said the weight hasn't been a problem, but I do wonder what kind of power you're expecting to have at 145. Is it going to be the same as all your classic battles at 155?
That doesn't feel like it's changed, man. Everybody I train with is the same. I feel everybody I train with is bigger. They're strong, and I don't feel like my strength has changed. When I hit the pads, I still crack. I think I'm bringing that same power down to these little guys at 45, and that's what I don't think they're going to be able to handle. I don't think there's anybody as powerful as me at 45 in Bellator, and definitely they're not going to have the strength and power that I bring.
Donna?
Brandon, how's it going? Are you completely finished with 155 at this point?
I wouldn't say that. You know, it depends on what opportunities come in life. I don't close my doors on anything, you know, if there's a great opportunity. But right now, 45 is where I want to stay. You know, I'm really looking to make a run at it. I feel great. I ain't killing myself. You know, I'm about 52 and a half right now. I'm working hard to get here. I've done everything I need to do, you know, as being clean eating, working, you know, cardio, everything I need to do, the correct stuff I've been doing, and I've been loving it. There's been no hate about it. My mental side has been perfect. That's been making it easy. So right now, do I see 55? No, you know, and especially since, you know, I've gone down now. The 55ers are a little bigger now than me, but they always were. You know, that's kind of the thing. I was always a little on the small side at 55. So 45 is my home right now, you know, until that next opportunity comes that 55 makes sense. And I'm not saying it won't, you know, but until then, 45 is where I'm going to be at.
Yeah, I ask because I've always harbored ambitions of one day getting to see that cursed fight that never happened with Paul Redmond. I understand that he pulled out with the injury that time, and then you got a rematch, or you got a rescheduled fight, and then you pulled out with an injury. And I had always kind of hoped that fight would one day happen. Do you think that's possible or no?
I would like to, because I would like to fight in Ireland someday. I think that would be that'd be a great fight. If I'm mistaken, I feel like he fought it. I don't know. Maybe he fought at 45 at some time. But again, opportunity knocks.
Yeah.
You know, I would be about it. And 55 is definitely not a closed door. And if I travel over to Ireland to fight him, that I would go back up to 55. I think that'd be a fun little adventure. And I still have aspirations to go over to Ireland and fight, in front of an Irish crowd. And so that door is definitely cracked open.
Thank you, buddy.
Lenny March.
How's it going, Brandon? How are you?
I'm great, brother. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. So you mentioned earlier, you quoted these little guys. Did that give you more like persuasion to move down because you're going to have the reach advantage, the size advantage, I presume, and when you come into fight night, you're probably going to have the weight advantage over these 145ers.
Absolutely, man. It changes it up a little bit, I do look at them as little guys. I've been fighting 55. I've also fought in 70 a few times. And every time I fought, and usually these guys are bigger, especially when we step in the cage. Most fights, I step in the cage around 160, 162, and most of these guys are stepping in way above that, So when I come in at 45, I'm expecting to step in about that same 160, 162 area, For once, I'm going to be the bigger, heavier guy out there, and you'll see a big change in that and how I'm able to use that weight.
Yeah, last question from me. You also mentioned crowds, the Irish crowds. Talking about that, the fight this weekend, you won't have any crowd. Do you reckon that will play a little bit of a factor in this fight?
I do, but it'll play a great factor for me. I don't need a crowd to fight. I love this. To me, it will be more intimate. You're going to hear every crack I throw out there. I'm looking to put my hands on this dude. I'm looking to hurt him, and you're going to hear it. And I'm going to hear it. Everybody's going to hear it. And that's what's going to excite me. I don't need the crowd to pump me up. I'm about this life, so there's no cheerleading needed for me. But I like you said about the Irish crowd, I go out there because I want that atmosphere, to see it and be out there in a crowd like that. That's cool, but do I need it to go out there and to be fired up to take this man out? Absolutely not.
Thank you very much for the time, Brandon. Good luck this week.
Thank you.
Come on with me.
We are now being joined by Dalton Rosta. Once again, remember to click the raise hand button if you have a question for him. We'll begin now with Steve Jewin. Steve, your line is now live.
Dalton, thank you for the time today. I've got 2 questions for you. The first is that Ty Gwerder was on the call earlier, and he said that you won't have the strength or power at 185 that you did at 205. So I'd like your response to that.
I have more. I'm a bigger 85 pounder. I cut down to 185, not only because of the size advantage that I'm going to gain, but I feel like it's a better fit for me to take over the weight class.
And speaking of taking over that weight class, it's very deep, as are all of the Bellator divisions. But on a card where the vacant middleweight title is up for grabs, where does a win in your middleweight debut rank you among the greats?
This isn't my debut. My last fight was my debut at 185.
Oh, but, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, we'll see where we go from here. I'm interested to see what Bellator has for me after this. I mean, Ty Gwerder's good opponent, game opponent, and after I finish him Thursday night, I'm intrigued to see what they have for me.
All right. Thank you.
Jay Anderson.
Dalton, welcome back. First of all, something that you said after your last fight, or maybe it was before, but you wanted to be 5-0 with 5 finishes at the end of this Bellator deal. And, here you are, 3-0, 3 finishes, off to a great start. What's the key to getting that same outcome Thursday against Ty?
The key is just sticking to my game plan, pressuring him, watching him fight. He does a lot of things well, and he's explosive, but he doesn't like being pressured. He doesn't have great wrestling. It's going to be easy to change things up, keep him guessing. He's not going to know if I'm striking. He's not going to know if I'm wrestling. I could be throwing both in there. Who knows? You guys will see Thursday night, but I don't see it lasting longer than the second round at the latest. We don't get paid by the round. The earlier the better. I'm hoping for a first round finish, but I don't see it going past the second. At the latest, I see him coming out fighting hard. He seems like he has a good mindset on him, a lot of heart, but that only takes you so far. So I plan on having him show me his heart and then ripping it out.
And one more for me. I mean, having fought once already in the pandemic, is the process a little more familiar this time around in terms of as the fight approaches?
Yeah, everything went a lot smoother this time since I was kind of more knowledgeable about how things were going to go. Last time I trained on Sunday whenever I got here, or the day after I got here, and kind of took the day off whenever I was traveling. But we were quarantined in the hotel room, so I kind of did it the opposite this time. Gave my body the rest day as soon as the next day after we got here, trained Saturday before we flew out. And then we got our test results back the next morning, so we were able to network out the next morning, next night. And I mean, everything's been going smoothly so far. My weight's coming down really well. And everything's great.
Luis?
Hi, you have 3-0 in Bellator. You are a huge prospect. Do you feel extra pressure for keep the momentum?
No. If anything, I'm just going to build on my momentum. So starting off 3-0 with 3 finishes, and then putting a tougher opponent, which is what I've been asking for this entire time, is only going to fuel that fire a little bit more. And I think you guys are going to see the best performance I've had yet come Thursday.
Lenny March.
How's it going, Dalton? How are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. You just mentioned there that you have 3 fights, 3 finishes, but your opponent, he's got 5 wins, all 5 KOs. Is set up for a fight tonight, contender, surely. Does that mean? Are you looking to make a statement this Thursday?
Yeah, I mean, one thing's guaranteed: the fight's not going to the judges, and it's a lot of people might think he might win. He has more experience. He's 5-1. A lot of people might think I might win, but at the end of the day, we got a good game plan in place, and I'm going to come home with the win. And it's not just going to be a win; it's going to be a devastating finish. I can promise you that.
Perfect. Good luck this Thursday.
Thank you.
Ben Keeley.
Hi, Dalton. After your last fight, you called out Dylan Dennis. I just want to know, what was the thinking behind that call out? Is there something about Dylan you don't like?
he calls a lot of guys out, so I kind of want to be on the other side of the fence that time, see how he reacts to somebody else calling him out. And I cut down to 85. He was fighting 175-pound catch weights, and we were only 10 pounds apart. So if he was anything like his dad, Conor McGregor, he'd come up a weight class, come see me at 185. But, he ain't going to jump those weight classes like Conor is. He could try to talk like Conor all he wants at the end of the day. He ain't as good. He can't strike like him. He ain't as good of a fighter, and he's not going to come up and back the talk that he talks. So I kind of just wanted to get the first phase of exposing that in. And if he chooses to take the fight in the future, or if that's something that comes to fruition, I'll expose him for him being the lousy or, B-league fighter that he is.
Would you be willing to cut down to fight him at a catch weight, maybe?
I don't think that'd be possible. I'm making 85 pretty easy, but that's only because I'm doing everything correctly. I'm dieting early. I'm having a lot of discipline with my diet, and I'm doing everything correctly whenever I'm here during fight week. But I think cutting down to 75 would be a little bit of a stretch. Maybe possibly 180, but that's the lowest I'd be willing to go and probably able to go.
All right, thanks, Dalton.
Thank you.
All right, our final questions were coming from the line of Donna Corby. Go ahead, Donna.
Dalton, just to further on from what Ben was asking there about Dylan Dennis, do you think it's realistic that Bellator give you that matchup? Have they said anything to you about the prospect of you fighting him, or do you think that that's not really on the cards?
Honestly, I would like to think it's on the cards, but they have somebody who's building a big name for himself, and for them to take somebody, or for him to take a fight with somebody as dangerous as I am, I don't think, one, he takes it, and two, the people that are looking out for him, his manager, and the people in Bellator, in this company, I think are going to be advising him against it as well. Who knows? They might not even, put that offer out there. But at the end of the day, if they do, I hope they do. You'll see the result of me winning. If not, there's other guys out there, and there's a lot of other people that that I'll be able to fight in the near future and build my way up the 185-pound division.
Which is more likely, that he fights you or that he fights one of these celebrities that he keeps calling out?
It's more likely that he fights me. He's not fighting John Jones. They'll have to bury him a grave whenever he's leaving the cage for that one. He definitely ain't ready for that yet. As for him calling out Ryan Garcia is so much smaller than him. It's in a boxing match. Dylan Dennis can't box to save his life. If his life depended on it, he wouldn't be able to box his way out of a freaking cardboard box. He just doesn't have it.
All right, we'll take one final question here from Steve Jewin. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, Dalton, since we've had all this talk already about Dylan Dennis, I know he wouldn't be able to stand and box with you, but what if it was a no-gi jiu-jitsu grappling tournament? What would you do with him there?
I would take him down and just cut him up, dismantle him on the ground. He has great jiu-jitsu, but my top pressure, my wrestling, and my top jiu-jitsu, which I've been doing for years and years, will negate a lot of the stuff that he does on the bottom. So he could talk up his jiu-jitsu as much as he wants, and it is high level, but I definitely can beat him in a no-gi jiu-jitsu match too. We're talking about a gi, we'll save the pajamas for the pansies, but whenever it's no-gi, I'll submit him in that too.
All right. Thank you very much for the time, Dalton. Good luck this week.
Thank you. Is it this way? 1 second.
All right, we are now being joined by Jake Hager. Once again, remember to click the raise hand button if you have a question for him. All right, we'll begin with a question from the line of Steve Jewin. Steve, go ahead.
Mr. Hager, thank you for the time today. And a lot of people have been asking if this is your last Bellator fight. Only you would know that. So what's your contract situation?
Hi, Steve. Thank you for the question. This isn't my last Bellator fight. I originally signed to a 6-fight deal with Bellator at the end of 2017. So we got plenty more to go. And I'm very happy with Bellator, and they're really giving me everything I need to grow my brand and become a mixed martial artist that they can be proud of.
All right. And how has been the balance between All Elite Wrestling and Bellator? How is that working out?
It's really incredible. I have the opportunity to work with 2 incredible companies. They both understand what a unique situation that I'm trying to achieve and be successful in. And it's really has been eye-opening because 5-6 years ago when I was with WWE, doing both wouldn't have been possible. They just didn't have the understanding. And Tony Khan at AEW loves it. He just, makes me promise that I'm going to win every fight.
Jay Anderson.
Hey, Jake, welcome back. I just wanted to build on kind of that last topic. I mean, when you signed with Bellator, AEW didn't exist. And, the past year and a bit that Dynamite's been on the air, it's really taken off. You're a big part of that with the Inner Circle. Was there ever any doubt about continuing to do both MMA and wrestling on your part?
Thank you. I really appreciate that. This last year with AEW, I really consider like the best year of my career. Being able to win 2 fights with Bellator and then sign with them and to have the year of ratings we've had on TNT, it really has been special in my heart. The Stadium Stampede that we did in May, one of my favorite matches. I never doubted that I'd come back to fighting. I believe right now I'm 38 years old. I have a unique window where I can really capitalize on something special. We were originally scheduled for May 9th, and we were one of the first cards to be canceled during the pandemic. Since then, we've been staying ready, and Bellator never ceases to give me an opportunity.
Coming out of that last fight, I mean, it wasn't a loss, but it didn't end the way you wanted it to. What were the takeaways and lessons from that?
Absolutely. I mean, the finish alone is a big takeaway for me. This is sanctioned violence, but at the same time, it needs to be controlled. It needs to be like a controlled chaos in there. And you always need to be aware of what you're thinking and what your body's doing. A lot of it needs to rely on instinct to where you don't think and where you can just react. That way you're ahead of it and you're leading the charge there in the cage. I was personally upset about it afterwards, but at this point, it is what it is. Definitely a lesson learned, and definitely improved on the areas that have cost me.
Giancarlo?
Hi, Jake. You brought up there about being in AEW and them understanding your passion for MMA. Just curious, with the pandemic and everything, you're wrestling weekly, it's live. So how have you been able to adjust your training for this MMA fight with those responsibilities?
So I pretty much consider, we film twice a week with AEW every other week. So I have 10 days off in between. That is usually the schedule until like bigger things come on, which there's nothing bigger than AEW and Bellator right now. So I really consider the filming days with AEW as my rest days. And then once I'm home, I really, like as soon as I'm home on a Thursday or Friday, I already have practices scheduled, and I'll go Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then I'll fly out again Wednesday to go film. It's worked pretty well. AEW has definitely understood, during those rest days that I'm really pushing it and really working hard. And I think they've done a great job to help complement their schedule with mine and allow me to get the time to work out even on those rest days a little bit, and like a run, some kind of conditioning. And it really has and will show in this fight.
And final question for me. You brought up there about Tony Khan, like understanding, and when you were in WWE, this might not have been possible. So what's that conversation like with Tony Khan when you're telling him you have a scheduled fight for this date, and how is he maybe different than what Vince McMahon, that conversation would have been like with him?
Well, the number one difference is the schedule. AEW films weekly television shows, so it's about 60 to 70 dates a year with the pay-per-views, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. At WWE, we were running over 200 dates a year, so at times I'm only home 36 hours. It really is like a complete different schedule where even if I am able to train on those 5 days that I'm on the road, it's not the same. It's not consistent. I don't have a coach and some kind of like congruent plan going on. The conversation with Tony, like any conversation, is very easy. He's a great guy. I think his leadership really trickles down. He wants good people to work at AEW. So like talking to him is like sitting here talking with you guys right now. It's very casual. He's a very big sports guy. I think that's why you see so many wrestlers happy to be at AEW, because he treats us like athletes. And it really shows in our work that we're more than happy to show him how much we appreciate that.
Ben?
Hi, Jake. I ran into you recently with Chris Jericho, and he was like full of compliments for you as a wrestler. But he also said that he felt that the WWE severely underutilized you. I was just wondering, do you agree with that? And how have you enjoyed working with Chris Jericho?
Oh man, like not only do I need to thank Chris Jericho, but the entire wrestling world, I feel like, needs to buy him a steak dinner. I always said during my time at WWE, it would take one unselfish top guy to change the wrestling landscape. And Chris Jericho is that one unselfish top guy. What he has done is raised the bar and raised the level of everyone around him. I taken everything I can from Chris. I'm always watching him. I'm always learning. It's just such an honor to be able to work with him, to be in the inner circle at All Elite. This last year is some of the greatest work he has ever done, and to have Jake Hager next to that is really, really an honor. Do I feel like WWE misused me? Of course I do, but like nothing I say or do now is ever going to change the past. All I can do is move forward and smile. And sometimes that's difficult, but you know, when you're winning, it's not difficult at all. It's easy not to be, upset or still brittle about stuff that has happened. You know, it's time to move on and smile, because life is short.
And you've been wrestling without a crowd at AEW due to the pandemic. I'm just wondering, a big part of wrestling is the performance and how the crowd reacts. So I'm just wondering, how do you gauge your success as a wrestler without a crowd? And your next fight now, Bellator, will be without a crowd as well. So how do you think that will impact your fight?
Yeah, it's definitely been a new experience wrestling without a crowd. I'm very eager to see how it is going to be this Thursday at Bellator 250, fighting without a crowd. I think it's definitely more necessary with pro wrestling to have an audience, because they are part of the show, and it is show business that we're doing with pro wrestling. And we need them to react and, like you said, tell us who they like and who they don't like. And, you know, for the most part, you usually have a good feel for those types of things. The only thing you have to worry about is when no one's reacting, and that's time to move on to the next idea. I'm really excited to go in there with this Thursday night for Bellator 250 and fight without a crowd, because, you know, I'm still very new to the sport, and any less distraction for me is warranted. It never really bothers me because I have so much experience on live television, but I look forward to not having the crowd this week.
Donna?
Hey, Jake. I know that you are, you're not super loud about it and talking about it all the time like some fighters are, but you're a Trump guy, and obviously you said you wanted to be 3-0 before he was reelected. Looks like that's going to be looks like that's exactly what's going to happen for you. Are you excited for next week, and do you think he's gonna win that election?
I love Donald Trump simply because he loves America. He loves the American people. He wants my children to have freedom. He wants my children's children to have freedom. And I don't think you could say that about who he's running against. I would be very excited to be 3-0 by the time he's reelected. I think he's been doing a hell of a job and will continue to do a hell of a job. And America will definitely be better off in another 4 years from it. As far as the election goes, I'm very nervous. This is an unbelievable time that we're living in right now where we can't get straight information, and we really have to dig in and find out what's true and what to believe in as the American people, because this is the greatest country on earth.
Obviously, as well, you know, like we mentioned, you're a Republican, but you were definitely willing to speak to Andrew Yang. You put that tweet out recently about the award that your former employer had won. What inspired you to feel that you should make a public statement on that? And have you had any sort of back and forth with Andrew Yang? I know that he's big in wrestling. He wants the best for the wrestlers, for wrestler pay and things like that. So have you had any back and forth, and what inspired you for that message?
I simply tagged him into that tweet because he had mentioned talking about the independent contractor status and how WWE does that to so many of its roster. So I just added him in there because they were talking about, you know, how great their business was. I really hope there is change. If I was a politician, I would definitely go across the aisle and talk to these people. I have no problem with it. I think Andrew Yang is a very young and up and comer and has a lot of potential, and I know a lot of people back him. I really hope he can. I really hope he can create change, but I also wish he was a Republican.
All right, and our final question will come from the line of Lenny March. Lenny, go ahead.
How's it going, Jake? How are you?
Hey, Lenny, I'm good. Thank you.
Good. Also at AEW, you've been around Mike Tyson. He's been at AEW recently. Has there been a chance that you'd be able to kind of learn a few techniques where you stand up with him?
So right before that segment happened, we were backstage, during a commercial break, and we're about to go out, and Tyson comes through with his posse, and Rashad Evans was there, Henry Cejudo was there, and so we're just sitting there, talking trash to each other because we're all three, wrestlers, and I was begging Henry to try and low level me in front of the boys so I could take him down. He wouldn't do it. and then Mike came up and he gave me the biggest hug and he squeezed the life out of me. It was a pretty cool moment. And he said, "No problem," and just walked away like I was this big fan. We had a good laugh about it.
That's such a cool story. So we'll move on to what someone said earlier. With the contract, you have a 6-fight contract. You're 3 fights deep into the Bellator, and you've got 2 fights left after this. I mean, are you going to re-sign with Bellator, or are you going to leave it as a one contract and done?
I'm not really focused on that right now. I'm focused on getting better as a professional, as a mixed martial artist. I love Bellator. They have been nothing but great for me. You see their roster expanding daily. You see the fights they're putting on are huge, and it's really cool to be part of a growing company. As for the eyes can see, I believe Bellator.
All right. Thank you very much for the time, Jake, and good luck the rest of the week.
Hey, thank you guys.